Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, my name is Sarah and in today's video I'm going to be teaching you how to crochet a snake. This pattern is pretty simple, so I'm actually going to be switching things up a tiny bit for the beginner series. I'll be showing you how to crochet with burlap blanket. The last two episodes we focused on size 4 acrylic yarn, but since this pattern is fairly straightforward, I'm actually going to be teaching you how to use a new yarn as well. If you are watching this tutorial just for the slower version from my original snake tutorial, then go ahead and skip forward. You'll have chapters in the bottom of the screen, so you can skip forward to the material list or round 1. If you're here for how to crochet or my beginner series, then I think you should stick around because I'm going to talk about a couple things and then we'll get into it. I'm going to be showing you how to crochet with burlap blanket, and like I said earlier, we only have touched on acrylic yarn in our last 2 episodes, but I think it's finally time to start learning some new yarn as well. The other thing I'm going to be showing you how to do today is the magic ring. So I was showing you in the last 2 episodes how to use the chain 2 method. As I stated in those episodes, both of those techniques, they're completely interchangeable, so you don't have to use the magic ring if you don't like making it. If you want to refresh your memory on the chain 2 method, just go back to a previous video tutorial and then come back here after round 1. For materials, we're going to need our blanket yarn, so I'm just going to be using burlap blanket, and this is just the mystical color, so it's got different shades in there. And then with this yarn, I'm going to be using a 7mm hook. Feel free to adjust your hook size as needed. If you find that you're crocheting with this blanket yarn and it's a little too tight, go ahead and use a bigger hook. You'll also need a pair of scissors. Any pair of scissors will do. And you will need a sewing needle. We'll be using these needles to close up the end of the snake when we finish. You don't need anything too special, but just some plastic needles. I recommend plastic when working with blanket yarn, but you can also use metal if that's what you have on hand. And then if you need a stitch marker, definitely go ahead and get one. You can always use a bobby pin or a safety pin. Safety pin's a little sharp, so I'd recommend just using a piece of yarn, just some scrap yarn to mark your stitches. So we're going to get right into it. I'm going to be showing you how to do the magic ring. So the magic ring is fairly similar to the chain 2 method, except instead of creating 2 separate chains, we're going to be crocheting directly into the knot of a slip knot, if that makes sense. If it doesn't, no worries at all. To make the magic ring, we take our end and we're going to put it into our non-dominant hand. We're just going to place this end over here, leaving a little bit of a length. And what we're going to do is hold it with our thumb, and with 2 fingers we're going to wrap the yarn around our fingers, and you're going to go over that other tail to create an X on the front of your hand, and then you have these 2 loops on the other side. Now we're going to take our crochet hook, we're going to go under that first loop, and we're going to grab that second loop and pull it through. And as we do that, we're going to twist our hand up like this. So now you're going to twist your hook so it faces back towards the back of your hand again, and with the working yarn you're going to chain 1. Now give this a few tries, especially if you're new to it, but I am confident you guys can figure it out. Then you can pull your fingers out and you'll have the magic ring, and with our little chain 1 there. So this is what it looks like. It can still fall apart, but it doesn't fall apart too easily. What we're going to do is we're going to crochet into this magic ring. So we're going to crochet into this nice big loop right here, and I'm going to single crochet 4. Now just as a refresher, the single crochet is made by inserting your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through just that 1 loop, and you'll have 2 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through those 2 loops again, and then that is 1 single crochet, and you're going to make 4 single crochets total. So just go ahead and make your 4 single crochets. Slow me down if you need it. And just like that, we have 4 single crochets in our magic ring. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our loose end, our little tail here, and we're going to close this up. So what I like to do is grab the very top of the single crochets and pull, and then it'll close up. And don't pull it too tightly at this point because it can be hard to crochet into that first single crochet stitch. So just pull it until it's about closed, and don't pull it too tight. For the next round of the snake, we do an increase and a single crochet, and then we increase and single crochet again, so a total of 6 stitches. Right now you have 4 and then we'll have 6. Here we can see this is the chain stitch on the side of the magic ring. We're going to completely ignore that and go right into our first single crochet stitch. We're going to go through both loops, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through those 2 loops to create a single crochet. How we increase is by inserting our hook into that same stitch, yarning over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through. And you put 2 single crochets into the same stitch, and that is how you increase. So now in the next stitch we're going to single crochet, and then in the next stitch we're going to increase again. So like I said, 2 single crochets in the same stitch, and then in that final stitch we're going to single crochet. So here we have 6 stitches. You can go ahead and count these by looking at the V's. So here's 1 V. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. The next round we increase and then single crochet 2 and repeat that one more time. So we do increase, single crochet 2, increase, single crochet 2. And once you finish with that round, you should have a total of 8 stitches. You can go ahead and give it a count. And you should have 8 stitches. Now at this point, we're going to start curling. Generally, we start curling, I'm going to pull up the loop to show you, with the wrong side, which is this side. And so you want to push this through so that the right side is facing the outside. And how you know this is when you crochet into your stitches, you're crocheting from the outside in, versus if you're inside out, you're going to be crocheting from the inside out. Does that make sense? I hope it does. But I'm going to go ahead and push this out, and we're going to move on to our next round. Now at this point you can go ahead and use your stitch marker, and I use a stitch marker. I just go ahead and mark that last single crochet stitch. And that's how I know that when I single crochet into this stitch, the round is finished. For the next round, we're actually going to be increasing in both of the next stitches. So we're going to place 2 single crochets in one stitch and then 2 single crochets in one stitch. And then after that, you're going to single crochet in the next 2 stitches. So go ahead and start with your increases. And when you finish those increases, single crochet in the next 2 stitches. And then we're going to repeat that, increase, increase, and then single crochet, single crochet. And here's what we're looking like so far. So go ahead and reset your stitch marker if you're using it. And if you wish, go ahead and give it a count as well. You should have 12 stitches at this point. Which I do have, so we're on the right track. Now for the next round, we're actually just going to be, for the next 2 rounds, we're going to single crochet in each stitch. So I like to just count 24 when I'm doing this because it's 12 stitches and then 12 stitches. And usually I won't have a stitch marker, but if you have a stitch marker, you can just go ahead and single crochet in each stitch around. And like I said, do this for 2 rounds. So once you finish your single crochet rounds, we have something that we need to do before we begin decreasing. But at this point, you can start seeing the head is forming. Right now, we're going to turn our piece inside out. And we're going to take our magic ring and we're going to wiggle it all the way closed. And you want to be very careful with blanket yarn or chenille yarn because you don't want to snap your yarn. So just pull it until it's just closed. And now we're actually going to secure this end real quick. So thread your needle with this end and we're going to just pick up a few loops, pull our yarn through it, and then go under that loop and pull it tight. And we do this because the magic ring can be pulled out both ways. Same with the chain 2 method, it moves both ways. So you want to create a couple knots on the back side so it stops that from ever being able to open, or at least not being able to open as easily. And here we see our magic ring looks a little tiny bit cleaner now as well, now that it's closed all the way. So go ahead and tuck that tail all the way in, and now we're going to continue on with the pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and reset my stitch marker. And for the next round, we're going to be doing some decreases. We're going to decrease 6 times, so decrease all the way around. In my last tutorials, I showed you there were 2 different types of decreases. You have the regular decrease and the invisible decrease. I will be using the invisible decrease and I'll refresh your memory on how that works. But we know that crochet is made up of 2 loops. You have your front loop and your back loop. In order to make the invisible decrease, we go through the front loop of the next stitch and then into the next stitch, the front loop as well. And you're going to yarn over and pull through those 2 loops, yarn over and pull through and finish that single crochet. And here we have decreased. So now we're going to repeat that 6 times or all the way around. Just pick up 2 front loops, yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. So here we have the head of our snake finished. So now what we're going to do is start working on our body. But first, I like to give the head a tiny bit of stuffing because it's easier to do it now, especially if you're using a smaller yarn type. So go ahead and stuff the head here. Stuffing, you just use your hands to kind of hold the piece together and shove the stuffing in there. Use your hands to like massage it into place. When you stuff, make sure that your stuffing isn't too condensed together, so kind of break it up a little bit, and this will help prevent lumps as well. And here is our head. I'm going to be embroidering my eyes on later, and I'll show you how to do that then. But if you want to insert safety eyes, you can. My stitches are pretty loose when it comes to Bernadette blanket, so I'm going to embroider the eyes just for safety. So now we're going to continue on to the body, and the body is very straightforward. You're just going to single crochet in each stitch over and over and over. You do not need a stitch marker, you don't need to count, just until you get the length that you want. I'm just going to keep crocheting until it's long enough that I can tie it into a knot. As I crochet, every few rounds or so, we'll stuff the body as well, and that's just so it's easier and we don't have to stuff it all at once later because it can get kind of lumpy if you do that. Like I said, just go ahead and single crochet in each stitch for as long as you want. Here is how long I decided to make my snake. I was thinking about going longer, but I think we'll stick with this. What I like to do is see if I can tie it into almost like a pretzel shape, and if it's long enough to do that, then that's how long I usually make it. For the tail, we begin by decreasing once. So just like earlier, pick up that front loop and then the next front loop, single crochet, and then we're going to single crochet 4 times, so that'll finish the round. And then we're going to single crochet in each stitch around, so that's just 5 stitches. I'm just going to go ahead and count that in my head. So now I'm going to stuff it a little bit, because after this next round it'll be pretty difficult to stuff, especially if you're using a smaller yarn type. For the next round, we're going to decrease once and then single crochet in the next 3 stitches. And then for the final round, we're just going to single crochet in each stitch, so I'll just count 4. And now I'm going to fasten off, and the way I do this is by inserting my hook into the next stitch and slip stitching, so that's pulling through all of the loops on my hook. Then I'm going to chain 1, which is just yarning over and pulling through. And you're going to cut, leaving length of yarn. It doesn't need to be too long, because we're going to have to close up this bottom hole here. And I think I'm just going to leave it as is. And I'll just massage some stuffing down there later, because I did stuff the other parts a little bit stiff. So now we're going to close up our bottom end, and the way we do this is by threading our needle. The way I like to close it is by picking up all the front loops. So I just take my needle, go under and over, and pick them all up. And then I'm going to go back through that first one to make it go full circle. And then you're just going to pull. Remember to not pull too tightly, because you don't want to snap your yarn. And now I'm just going to go ahead and create a knot. So the way I do this is by picking up a loop and then slipping my needle through it, and that creates a knot. And then I'm just going to go ahead and weave this right into the body. And there we have our snake almost finished. We still have to put the eyes on, which I'll show you how to do real fast, but here we can see that our snake is done. If you did add safety eyes, then your snake is finished, but we're going to add the embroidered eyes next. And how I do this is I'm going to get some size 4 yarn. It can be acrylic, chenille, whatever color you want as well. I'm going to get some size 4 black yarn and just embroider some super simple eyes on. Here's the yarn I'll be using. It's Toucan Fine by Hobby. But like I said, you can use any acrylic yarn or any yarn at all to embroider the eyes. So I'm going to go ahead and thread my needle with the yarn. And I'm going to find where I think the top of the head is. Here you can kind of see where the head is a little off. This one's like a little bit lower on the side, so I'm going to pretend like that's the bottom. It honestly doesn't make too much difference because the eyes are going to be straight across, so there's not really an up and down, but we're going to pull a nice long loop out, and then you could embroider these eyes wherever, but I'm going to be embroidering them on that first single crochet round, about like halfway up the head. And I'm just going to go ahead, apparently have a big knot here somehow, and create loops over and over and over again on this stitch until the eye is as big as I want it to be. Then once I'm satisfied, I'm going to go ahead to the other side and sew the eye on the other side as well. So I'm going to treat this as the top of the head because I think it looks a little bit better. Go round over, and here you can see I need to trace, so the eye gets traced to this round. Here I have 2 eyes on. You can see the back side, you're going to see that it is uneven, but the top side it'll look right. And for something as simple as the snake, I don't really mind too much how it looks, honestly. There I have my 2 eyes on. I should have put this one up 1 stitch, but lesson learned. I haven't embroidered eyes on a snake in a little while, as we can tell. So go ahead and take your end back up to the other end that's still connected to your yarn, and we're just going to tie these 2 together. I'm going to trim the one that's still connected to the ball of yarn pretty short, and then I'm just going to go ahead and weave these ends in. And there's our snake finished. This is our head, here's our body, and then I like to tie this into a little knot. And there we have our snake finished. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please leave a like, and if you're interested in the future beginner series, go ahead and subscribe because I will be releasing quite a few more this year. If you have any particular patterns you'd like me to do a slower tutorial on with more explanation, let me know in the comments below. I'm mostly doing this on patterns I already have released, so if you have a tutorial you tried to follow from me and you want a slower version, let me know in the comments below. I do want to do my little axolotl next, so hopefully I'll be able to get to that, but if there's something that's a little bit easier, I might do that one first. That is the snake finished, and I hope you all enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching to the end, and I hope you guys enjoyed making your snakes. With all that said, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you around. Bye!